All right, welcome everyone. We have another special edition of the Coin Rivet podcast. This time it's live. This time it's in Cyprus. This time it is with the World Series of Poker bracelet winner, Melika Razavii is here. Melika, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Again, the title event here is $200,000 Coin Rivet Invitational, and you had some success already in the high stakes here. You cashed, I believe it was the 30K or the 25K?
It was the 30K. I came 11th.
Wow, 11th place, so you were right there before the final table, big money, some of the biggest names, and then how did the $200,000 invitational, how did that come up? And are you a businesswoman or a pro?
I would consider myself as playing poker professionally. People in the poker world obviously know me,
right.
But I'm also a businesswoman. I have my business in South Africa, so I think they accepted me to be a businesswoman.
Yeah.
And I invited Viktor Kodinov as my pro. And as I mentioned before, this was like literally the last minute thing. I was walking into a casino. I've met with Phil Nagy, and it was out of the blue. And he said to me, "Are you playing the 200K?" I said, "No, I'm not playing." He said, "Well, I can put you in." I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, wow. Obviously, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in my spot would say no. So obviously, I accepted.
Yep.
And I did even mention to him, like, I wouldn't want any percentage as long as I get to play this game.
Right.
This was what I said to him, because it was so important for me to just play.
Right.
You know?
Well,
I love poker.
It is. It's a historic event. It's massive. It's Triton, the bright lights, the pageantry, all the best players in the world, and very unique event. So that's an amazing story. And obviously, the dream would be to go on and win it and do whatever. I know you took a pretty unfortunate beat. Maybe not to harp on this, but how does that feel when you get it in good and to see the river and get delivered call it a bad beat? It is.
Yeah.
How was that to sort of take that in?
I mean, as I said, like when I'm even talking about it, I get emotional because it was like pretty real, that emotion, what I felt at that moment. I know I got it in good, and he has 4%, and he literally hit the queen on the river. He only needed a queen. I froze for a few seconds. I couldn't, it was the first time I couldn't actually get off the table, and I froze, and I was like, did I just see the queen hit the river?
Yeah.
And I had to tell myself, okay, now you need to take a deep breath and just stand up from the table. Yeah. It was quite emotional for me.
It is. I mean, I guess in some comfort though, you got it in good, right? That like in your head, that's got to feel better, right? If you got it in and bad, it has to feel good to play, get your money in good. But moving to a higher note, you have won a World Series of Poker bracelet.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. So could you maybe tell me about that and how that came? Actually, I remember that we had our podcast on my channel maybe September of 2020 or right around there, August, and then you're like, I want to win a bracelet, or I have a lot of goals in poker, and then sure enough, September, the World Series of Poker online on GG, and you did get a bracelet. Maybe tell me about that.
Yes, as you just mentioned, we had the podcast. I had a podcast with you. I chatted about this, and you mentioned about like my visa going to America. I remember I was like, because of Trump ban back then, I couldn't get the visa to America, and I was heartbroken. I was like, I really want to play the World Series of Poker. And due to COVID, the WSOP was held online for the first time ever. And I decided, okay, well, this is my opportunity to play. And the first event that I actually played, I won the bracelet.
It's crazy.
And the second day, I won the bracelet. I didn't sleep. I was so excited. And I hopped onto the 10K the next day, and I came 13th. I was falling asleep middle of each hand because I didn't have much sleep, but I came 13th. So it was... It was great for me.
That's cool. And there was like 2,200 runners, I think. It was a $1,000 Beat the Pros, I believe, bounty tournament, something like that on the World Series.
It was Beat the Pro Championship, and it was 1,160, if I'm not mistaken.
Crazy. 2,200 entries and take it down. One of the first events of the series. So that's very, very cool. How was that to get that feeling? So we talked about a bad feeling, busting a big buy-in. What about getting a World Series of Poker bracelet? Were you more excited to see the bracelet in the mail or to actually win it?
I was so excited. I was actually sitting in my mother's house on my laptop. As I said, I wasn't like planning to play anything, and then I realized that the WSOP was held online. I was like, I'm gonna play this. And I remember I was running around the house with my laptop. I was running around the house with my laptop and screaming, I want a final table. And obviously my mom doesn't understand poker like much, but obviously they're like super excited for me. And when I was heads up, it was all the emotions, I was chip lead, and then I went down, and then obviously I won, and it was just one of the most amazing feeling. I think the achievement, as I mentioned to you before, I worked hard for where I am.
Yeah.
I tried everything in poker, and I wanted to prove to myself that I can do this.
Right.
And I think it's the biggest achievement for anyone when you prove to yourself that you can do it.
It's an amazing story, it really is. It's got to feel good. And tell me about, you mentioned your mom doesn't really understand poker. How is your family and sort of friends that know that you do this professionally or semi-professionally, obviously you have other endeavors too. How do they feel about it, and how is poker viewed in your sort of culture and where you live and grew up?
If I talk about my background, which is Iran, obviously they see poker as gambling, and I always try to put it out there, poker is not gambling. It's all mathematics, you need to study it, you need to understand, you can beat the game if you're good at it. It's not like you're playing a blackjack or roulette that you're gonna lose at the end of the day eventually. But my mother was always my biggest supporter in poker. She always pushed me. You can do it, even though like sometime I would go home and I would like have a big loss, I would not feel well, obviously all of those emotions, I'm sure poker players know exactly what I talk about.
Yeah.
We don't just jump and become best, we go through all of these emotions. We go through step by step, like losing, bad beats and everything. But she was all the way one of my biggest supporters. There was a lot of friends that at one stage telling me like you should have stopped because you're losing a lot. But I didn't listen to any one of those people, and I'm glad I never did.
I have friends that play poker and are not winning poker players, but they love poker and they actually feel it beneficial in their net, positive in their life. What would you say is the best thing out of poker? Forget the results, whether you're winning, losing. What do you like the most that poker affords in your life, to where experiences or things that you've taken away from poker in particular? For
me, the challenge, because I love challenges. I like to put myself through challenges every day. I think if one day I go without a challenge, I feel like it's not a good day. So poker keeps me on my toes, and at the same time, just because of where I come from and everything was so limited to me, the things that I do is like far beyond their beliefs and understanding. I also want to represent women in poker, to show that to a lot of women that it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter your culture or background or whatever it is. If you really want to get into poker and play, you can do it, because I did. Very well said. I'm going to get to Magic in a bit. You did put on quite a show the other night. I know Rob Young and Paul Pla, and you had Leon there and some other, casino owners kind of like, wow, this is insanely good Magic, but kind of like, we don't know if we want her at our casino, because it's kind of funny with poker. Like Antonio Esfandiari, who I know is from Iran also, and one of my closest friends. We had on the podcast, Iran, he hopped on and you guys were talking, but same thing, right? He's a great magician, but it's kind of funny. We'll be in like a home game or something, and showing off your magic tricks can be a little scary to people playing poker with you. I do want to ask you, I'll just go right into the magic then. Tell me briefly about that. How long were you actually a professional traveling magician? Or? I did for a few years. I was traveling and performing magic for events, functions, and I'm a self-taught magician. I taught myself how to do magic. As I always mention, I always loved playing with cards. And obviously there was poker always at the back of my head. I was playing poker, and I decided one day, poker is something that I want to pursue. So I left everything, like literally I left everything that I was doing, and I pursued poker. Was Antonio Esfandiari, is he like in Iran, is that like someone who knows, is poker popular? They don't really show it, but is it popular? Yes, he's very well known in the Iranian community between all the poker players. Everybody knows who is Antonio Esfandiari. He's a legend in Iran. But it's sort of like it's not like on like ESPN or like a local sports. They're not playing poker on TV, of course, right? No, it's forbidden. Gambling is forbidden in Iran, and poker is also known as gambling. Tell me about the fitness and sort of competitions, and then I want to go into how you balance all these things. As I said, I stopped at one point and pursued poker more. I was Miss Iran. I competed for Miss Global in 2016, and I won the Miss Global Fitness 2016. And 2017, I won the Miss Power Woman World.
Okay.
So all of that was next to poker, and I just decided at one point I don't want to compete anymore. I want to stop, and I really want to like focus on one thing, because it was just too much, too chaotic, and I'm like traveling at all time, and to be able to really focus in what you want and to win a bracelet or to be the best, you have to actually put your focus into one thing at a time. I think my focus was everywhere. Yes, I was still winning these competitions, but in my poker career, I wasn't like on the top level as I wanted to be.
And tell me here, because again, some of the biggest names, and you literally have some of the top poker players of all time, and currently you call it the best of the best. How do you feel when you sit down and you see some of these guys who are like, wow, okay, I know who they are, I've played. Do you feel intimidated? Do you feel excited? Do you feel like, wow, I know exactly like kind of what's going on? And do you use it to your advantage, I'm sure, because they probably think, they're not as familiar with you.
I've played with some of the guys before. I don't feel intimidated at all. I think I know them, I've seen them on Poker News, or some of them I just met for the first time, but I've seen them before, obviously. But I never get intimidated. It doesn't make me feel inferior just because he's the best or he's one of the best. I just think I see myself in the same level. I might not be as good as them yet, but I'm trying to. So I just think it's just what you know and how much you know, your experiences. The more you play these events, the more you get to know the players and how they play. So I see that as the challenge for me to become better and better and better.
In terms of women in poker, I mean, this is sort of like, we've seen different stances amongst women, right? It's a minority within poker. There's not a ton of women. Obviously, in this particular event, I think 90 unique runners, there was only 2 women. You were one of them. Ebony as well, who final tabled. And is it important to you to grow for women? Is this something that you want to empower and you're like, I want to see more women do it? Or is it, give me your stance on this.
I would love to see more women play this. That's why I was like, if there is a lady that's entering this competition, they should get more coverage. They should be on top of the things, to say, wow, there's a lady that's playing. I promise you, it will empower women to say, wow, look at her. She's done it. She's been doing it for a few years. And she's actually achieving this, these levels. So they would pursue their dreams rather than like, oh, but we haven't seen many women play these events. Or, that's why it was so important to see. Like for me, when I saw Ebony, she was like sitting short stack before the bubble. I think we were sitting together, and I was like, I hope she's gonna go to the final table. I want to see a woman win this competition because it would make a history. And that, for me, is very important. I'm not just here, yes, I am here because I love poker. I'm super passionate about poker. But at the same time, I remember where I came from and how I was reacted to when I started playing poker, and where people was, bringing me down, or you're going to be a professional poker player, what is that, So it is important for me to see women succeed in poker.
And if you could choose between $100,000 buy-in cash game or $100,000 buy-in tournament, what do you enjoy more, high stakes tournaments or cash?
You're asking me between the 2 fingers, which one do you like more? Right. It's like asking me that question. So it's very difficult to answer. But I enjoy playing tournaments like a lot. It's a lot of fun for me. It also depends who I'm playing with. Yeah, it's just plus and minuses, of course, right? Tournaments are kind of fun to have the start and finish, see where it's a competition, right? Where I
cash
like
game
the challenge.
Yes, it's a little.
Where the cash game is not that much of a challenge. Like I can get up and leave whenever I want to. But
it's very unique for people to do both, right? There's some people that really are only tournaments or only cash, so it's kind of cool to be able to dive into both. What is your goals within poker? What would you like to have happen in terms of? Would you like to represent, be an ambassador for a site? Do you have a certain milestone in earnings or bracelets? What is it that drives you and what you would like to do in your poker career?
As I said, I would want to be one of the best poker players in the world as a woman. And at the same time, I would love to be an ambassador for one of the biggest companies. I wouldn't go with, I had offers from some companies that I said no to. Because as I said, I see my level as much higher, so I would want that. But unfortunately, because I was originally from Iran, there's like I'm sure you know, there's a struggle like Iranian cannot represent. So that's a sad part.
Is that a bit like now currently? Is that something because you live, I believe, in South Africa? Is that right? Or are you able to, or is it really a problem because of being from Iran that you can't
So
represent?
I'm from Iran, so Iran cannot represent a lot of countries. You cannot be ambassador. Poker stars, party poker, and all of that, they have these rules. And the country that I live in, and I have a residency, South Africa, is also banned from poker.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like online poker.
Okay.
And so they said that it's a bit of a difficulty to do that. But I would think that everything happens in the right time and right moments.
I know you've had a lot of success again in the cash games. You now have played Triton, the highest stakes really in the world. I mean, this is the highest stakes tournament going for some time. And give me on kind of closing notes, what are your thoughts on Triton? Because this is your first time at Triton, correct?
Yes, wow. I can just say wow and well done, guys. It's the first time I entered the tournament. Everything was super perfect. It was just amazing. The experience, the dealers, they know everything. So any question you ask, they know. Like, you know, the other tournaments you ask the dealer, they're like, I don't know, I have to ask, you know. It was just amazing. I said, like, I wish all the other tournaments were like this, but I can understand because this is like so private, basically, like 100 people or 200 people is much easier for them to control. But they are, I can just say like, wow, and give them a floor for them. Like they've done a great job. I said like, I would want to play this event all the time, all the year round. Yeah,
it's definitely special. And also you're not the first time here to the Merit in Cyprus, but of course a brand new casino, spa, hotel, the whole works. What are your thoughts on this new property?
Cyprus has been my favorite destination to travel to for poker. Since I came here about like 7 years ago, I would say. And they're just growing and better and better and better. And as you can see what they've done with the poker room, it's just amazing. The food here is great, the view is beautiful, they have entertainment. Yep. So it's the best location to be, 100%.
Very nice. I agree. I was here about the same time, I think 2014, and I think there was like 1 or 2 towers, and then they built one, and now this has just come up even since April. So listen, we are so many questions. If you guys want to see more of Melika Razavii, you can check her out. Please let us know what are your most active socials that you participate in?
On Instagram, you can follow me on Melika Razavii.
We'll put that in the below. And also, do you use Twitter, TikTok, anything else? Or are you more?
No, I'm not a very big social media person. Like even if you look at my Instagram, I don't really put much posts on, but I do update on my stories. Whenever I'm traveling with poker, I'm always updating on my story what's happening, and so you can keep in tune and see what I do next.
Very nice. Well, listen, we want to wish you luck if you play more events here. I know there's short deck going on, which I don't think you play yet, at least, but there are cash games, of course, high stakes, and we may see you there. And if you want to see more as well, you can go to Jeff Gross podcast, and I have done a longer interview. We think we spoke for an hour and a half or so, and you guys can check that out. But in the meantime, best of luck to Melika. Congrats on your cash here at Triton, and of course, participating in the largest event, the Coin Rivet Invitational, $200,000 buy-in. We'll see you guys very soon for another edition of the Coin Rivet podcast. And Melika, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching.